Flying Lizard was the brainchild of Seth Nyman. He was the founding principal of Flying Lizard, and I began speaking with Seth in 2002, and he was interested in racing and realized pretty early on he couldn't really rent what he wanted to do. There was no team that could service his ambitions. So we started talking, and fast forward, we started building a race team. At the time, endurance sports car racing was split between Grand Am and the ALMS, and the primary focus of Flying Lizard would be the American Le Mans Series, the ALMS. But we wanted to do Daytona, which was not part of the ALMS program. So we used this Cup car, this 2004 Cup car, and decided we're going to use it for Daytona. And Tommy Sadler found a loophole that essentially allowed us to run a Porsche Cup car, which was much more narrow, with all the RS engine and suspension. So in effect, what we ended up with was a car that had all the power of Porsche's top class, but the narrowness of Cup car, which of course in Daytona with so many straightaways, thought would be beneficial. By the time all this work had been done, there wasn't a whole lot of Cup car left. The unibody was modified because of the tubbing of the rear wheels to get the extra wide rear tires into a Cup car body. We took up the width on the inside rather than sticking them to the outside. The suspension was all RS, the gearbox, the engine, brakes, fuel system, everything was RS. So really, it was a Cup car in silhouette, but it was an RS in every other regard. So we put this car together in a month and went and tested it at Daytona, but immediately it was clear that we had a real weapon on our hands, and the car, particularly fourth, fifth, and sixth gear, was so much faster than any other car in the class. It was almost embarrassing. First time we really did a lap wide open, flat out at Daytona was in qualifying, and I qualified on the pole by a pretty good margin, and it was one of those laps that there was quite a bit more left, so we knew we had a really fast car going into the race. The race in 2004 was a lot of weather, a lot of rain. I think we led for the first little bit, and then I remember we had a fender liner issue. So we came in to fix the fender liner, and we ended up losing several laps in the process. In the middle of the night, the car went off, lost the front splitter, so the rest of the race we had a bit of a understeer. And about midnight, everything sort of settled down. We were getting laps back, car was running quickly, and then they had a rain hold, so the race was red flag for 4 hours, and so we lost 4 hours of running time to be able to try to catch back up. And then when the morning came, it was largely a race to the end, and we were catching cars. We got all our laps back, and in the very end, I remember distinctly Mike Rockenfeller was behind the wheel. There was an hour to go, and there was a GT3 RS that was leading.
But this GT battle is intensifying. And as of now, the 44 Orbit Porsche has moved into second place overall.
And Mike was catching this car handily every lap.
And just 12 seconds back is Mike Rockenfeller. Johnny Mollem is running, pushing as hard as he can in this car, and we now have 2 GT cars on the overall podium.
And it started to rain. It was really getting exciting.
Here he comes. The young German is flying.
Once he can see him, gets visual on him in the eye lock, look out, buddy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, Rockenfeller obviously really earning his dough now. He's supposed to be the young hot shoe from Germany, and he's certainly proving it now to be 4 seconds a lap quicker than somebody like Johnny Mollem. Is pretty extraordinary.
So we finished second. It was, we were the first losers at Daytona in 2004. After that race, we used this 2004 Cup car for testing at Homestead. We had a lot of carbon bodywork on it at the time. And for Sebring, which was in March, we had taken delivery of 2 new 996 RSRs. So the 04 Cup car ended up sitting in the shop, and we didn't really have a use for it. It was later sold to Club Racer in Southern California. And as time went on, we lost track of the car, and Richard Diehl called and said, hey, I think I found that 2004 Cup car. And it had been used to death. And we verified that this was the car that we ran at Daytona. And once he received it, he started taking it apart with the help of, originally with Jerry Woods down in Campbell, California. And the car needed everything. And Richard only likes things perfect, as you can see by the end result. So this car was completely stripped. Some of the chassis, which these 996 and 997 chassis were prone to do, had cracked, and all that's been repaired, of every nut and bolt, and faithfully recreated back to Daytona January 2004. New everything. It's effectively a brand new car, and it shows. And driving it now, it brings back fantastic memories of that race long ago. The car today actually still drives pretty much like a modern car. It has a manual transmission, which no Cup car does anymore. No GT3 cars have manual transmissions anymore. So that's a bit different for some people, but growing up racing manual transmissions, it's old hat to me, and it's a lot of fun. But the way the car works, the responsiveness of the engine, the car's relatively lightweight by modern standards, doesn't have a lot of aero. So it's a car you can drive really hard, slide around, and it'll always bring a smile to your face, which you can't say that about a lot of cars, especially old ones. There's no other Cup car that has had this level of modification done to it. This car is truly one of a kind.